And we are live.
Big Fish. Yes. That's the name of the man, the legend, the mustache. To be fair, from your character's actual name is Saltmoore, Jake, correct?
Liam Saltmoore.
Thank you. Liam Saltmoore. You are sitting in your gentleman's club, observing the fact that only the poor, frankly, need to observe the Irish smoking ban as you puff merrily away on a cigar. It's a rather excellent cigar, though, frankly, the company in the club this evening has been rather tedious at best. Well, this is what happens when you have a bunch of old money that all they do is sit around, congregate, smoke, and talk of old glories and older women, mostly their wives. However, in some cases, their mistresses. Bless it, these men were born without taste. As you feel your cell phone start to vibrate in your jacket pocket.
Ah, my cellular telephone. Hello, you've reached Liam Saltmoore.
The voice on the other end of the phone seems proverbially unimpressed as he says, I should hope so. This is the voice of your mentor, the man colloquially known as Gravedigger. As he
Is that what
says,
I call him too?
you call him Mr. Gravedigger.
Right. Yes, Mr. Gravedigger, sir. How may I help you?
There's been a complication. I'd like for you to come down to the club immediately.
Ah, yes, straight away. And I will kind of like get up, put my cell phone into my jacket pocket, longingly look at my burning cigar, take one final savoring puff before blowing a perfect smoke ring, and then leave it to burn in the ashtray. I'll put like a tip down because I'm classy, and actually I don't know if they do that in gentlemen's clubs in Ireland. Do they do that? You tip or no?
They would tip, yes.
Yeah, so he tips, and then he'll go out to his nice I don't know what kind of car he drives. I haven't really thought of that. I guess he drives an Alfa Romeo. It's in like graphite gray. He gets into it. It's a two-seater, and he starts it up, and just like some good old-fashioned big band music starts to play.
As you whip through the night, you notice the fact that, well, frankly, it's terrible out tonight. The rain whips down from the sky in sheets. There hasn't been good weather of late, and much to your chagrin. Mind you, then again, it means that you're going to have to check the shipping forecast in order to make sure that certain shipments are not delayed. This is, of course, irritating to you. After all, you like things to run on clockwork, because otherwise it's just simply damned inefficient.
Exactly, a damn inefficiency to hell.
Yeah.
Long.
It'll take you I'm going to say you were probably in Clontarf, which is in the northern, more affluent section of Dublin. It will take you about 45 minutes to drive the 20 or so miles to the city in order to reach Gravedigger's Club, Carpe Dominatus. It is basically just you enter Temple Bar, which is the center of Irish counterculture. It is a series of winding streets that is very bohemian in style. It has Gothic clothes shops and little Nerveux cafes and out-of-the-way eateries. The streets twist and turn under dim street lamps. Carpe Dominatum itself is set off to the side. It is just a doorway, an ornate doorway, large, spacious, with a staircase leading down into the depths. There are two faux braziers on either side of the entrance, above which reads the name of the club in spidery black font. The bouncer is a huge man who you would swear must be some kind of albino. For the record, you know him. His name is Rufus. As you come up, he will nod, he will bow his head respectfully and say, Mr. Saltmoore, sir, Gravedigger's expecting you.
Ah, yes, Rufus, my good lad. How are you this evening?
He kind of blinks and he says, Not good, sir. The police were here earlier. The boss is still in a tizzy.
Oh, yes. Well, if you ever need anywhere to hide your stash, I'm your man.
He'll nod and say, "Thank you, Mr. Saltmoore.
Of course.
I'll close up the doors after you go down. If you need anything, just press the buzzer."
Thank you. I shouldn't keep Mr. Gravedigger waiting any longer.
Okay. The carpet is plush and pads under your feet as you make your way downstairs. As you descend, you see a number of statues of men and women wearing chains about their wrists and about their neck, holding them to the wall in very suggestive poses. As you enter into the room beneath, it is basically a large oval of black stone with many comfortable couches and seating locations spread throughout. There are a number of cages suspended from the roof and placed upon the chairs that have spikes facing outwards, where the dancers, had it been earlier in the evening, would gavort their wares for their customers. The drinks are expensive, the company is even more so. The bar itself looks to be made entirely from black basalt-like rock, but appears to be carved to resemble roses intertwining amongst one another. Betwixt and between them grow the thorns and the beautiful blossoms. Gravedigger himself is seated on top of the bar, with one of his legs swinging casually as you enter the room.
So Liam would come in. He'd give like a little bit of a bow to Gravedigger. He'd be like, "Ah, Mr. Gravedigger, I came. Seems like good. Something with the police, I hear."
Yes. Do you want something to drink, Saltmoore?
Yes, absolutely. Whiskey.
Excellent. He will pour you a glass. A very expensive blend, you guess, more than likely 100 years old if it is a day. And he pushes it across the table basically in a small glass that looks to be once again made from the glass itself looks to have been blown in chains that circle around it. And he says, "I don't like surprises, Mr. Saltmoore, and unfortunately I've just been handed a rather nasty one this evening."
Oh yes, I'll swirl my whiskey in my glass a little bit, and then look at him, and I'll look at the whiskey, and then look back over at him, and I'll sniff it a little bit, and take a sip, and savor it, and then as like I let all of the complex notes or whatever float over my tongue and into my nose, I'll look over at Gravedigger, and just kind of nonchalantly say, "Well, it must be much worse than I had anticipated if you're plying me with the good stuff. This is for celebrating and mourning."
Oddly apt, Mr. Saltmoore. This evening, a very important person in this city died, though no one really knows, well, very few people know his significance. Unfortunately, I'm one of the few who do.
And who is this? Pray tell.
I doubt you'll have heard of him. Albrecht Mons. Does the name
Can't
ring a
say
bell?
that.
Well, I don't doubt it. As I said, he was only important if you knew where to look. He will say, "So, Mr. Mons came to visit me this evening. As he wanted some information from me, I granted him the information. But Mr. Mons had led rather the double life, you see. He's also the head of the local Order of Hermes Chantry. They're big,
Brave lost the city indeed.
not really. The Hermetics are pigs. But he will say,
Always the critical one, Mr. Gravedigger.
Gravedigger smiles, and you see he has one on his left hand. His left hand canine is made entirely of silver and is very, very pointed. As he says, "Not really, I'm merely factual. But Mr. Mons was a very powerful individual. He was very, very good at his craft, and yet, from what I've been able to ascertain, he was killed in a most brutal and ritualistic fashion, and half this area of the city isn't on fire. Doesn't add up."
No, I should say it doesn't. Sounds very much like an inside job to me.
Yes. He'll say, from what I've been able to ascertain from, well, fortunately, that idiot police officer, he brought a little boy with him just out of the constabulary, and he taps his temple and he says, reading his mind was simple. They crucified Mons upside down and tore out his tongue.
Well, I'm no police profiler, but that does sound rather personal, and like someone was trying to shut him up.
Yes. He came here this evening looking for shipments and shipping orders. Rather interesting. I said that you might be interested to hear that.
I could make inquiries right now if you wish. I was actually about to check myself, my own shipping ledgers.
He'll say, I wish to know when it was that the Queen of the Nile docked in Dublin. I'd like you to find that out.
Oh,
The
that
ship,
shouldn't
the
be
Queen
any
of the
problem
Nile.
at all. I'm sorry, what did you say? The last thing?
Oh, he just said the ship, the Queen of the Nile,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
she docked in Dublin.
All right. So I mean, I will. I'll put in a phone call. To like whoever my guy is at the docks.
Okay. From what you're able to ascertain, the Queen of the Nile put into port about 2 weeks ago. She stayed for approximately 3 days in port and offloaded a cargo for a company called Dranson Incorporated
All right. So I will
before she left
draw
again.
that to Gravedigger and then ask him if that company rings a bell.
Gravedigger will contemplate for a moment before he says, no, it's not a name that I know, which is unusual. I know most names of consequence. Now then. The traditions will have to be told of this. I don't think they know yet. So, I've got a job for you, he says as he hops off the bar.
All right. I'll stand up when he stands up.
He basically takes a pen and paper out of his out of the behind the bar, and he scribbles something on it. You basically see him. He writes for about 5 minutes before he does a flourishing signature, and he hands you the note, and he says, I want you to deliver this now, if you would not mind, to St. Patrick's Cathedral, into the hand of Archbishop Caravaggio himself. He's the head of the traditions, he's the head of the traditions in the city. He should be made aware of the death of Mons.
Yes, I will head there right away.
And when you're done there, investigate the Docklands for me. I wish to see if there is any cargo left behind in the a form in. I believe it was. You found out that the Queen of the Nile dropped off their cargo at the dock number 42B.
Okay. Um. Yes, I think that it's been long overdue that I pay a visit to my own shipyards.
Good, good. If the Hermetics cause you if the traditions cause you any trouble, merely say that you're on my business, and that should shut them up.
I don't foresee them giving me any trouble. They're reasonable gentlemen, I assume.
From time to time, it depends on what you have and what they want.
Ah, yes. Well, don't shoot the messenger, that's what they say.
Very good. My cell phone will be on, Mr. Saltmoore. When you find out anything, let me know.
Bully. I'll head over to the cathedral.
Okay. The cathedral itself is about another 10 to 15-minute drive. Once again, it's really coming down. It's really raining. So much so that I assume that you said you were driving a sports car, so I assume you keep the roof of it up as opposed to
Yeah,
coming down.
this one is a spider. I don't know if the roof comes down or not, but yeah, let's say it does, but it's up, yeah. Might
Cool.
be
Do you have an umbrella?
Um, no, umbrellas are for bitches.
All right. You just end up slightly damp.
No, I have the top up.
Oh, but I'm saying when you get out of the car, it's about a,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you
No
you
worries.
will you make your way forward towards the cathedral door. which is closed against the evening inclement evening weather.
All right. Is there a buzzer or do I need to knock?
There's a large cast iron knocker, but there doesn't appear to be a buzzer.
All right, so I'll pick it up and drop it a couple of times, like twice.
Okay. The door will very slowly creak open on its hinges.
All right, I'll straighten my coat and stuff and step inside and shake myself off a little bit.
Okay. Even in the dim half light of the cathedral, you notice that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of candles burning all over the place that are quasi illuminating it. On a side note, now we're going to do a flick thing. Hi, Adam.
Hey.
So you have spent the last, well, basically, what's going to happen is after you were rudely awoken, or sorry, literally rudely awoken.
Yeah, kind of.
Basically, what happened was the Archbishop gave you a meal, and he basically found you somewhere to sleep because you were exhausted.
Yeah, very.
And you have slept. Well, when you wake up, it is very dark outside. You are currently occupying a room in the vestibule behind the altar proper. And you see, it's rather a large room. You guess that maybe like this is a place where monks would traditionally sleep or something of that nature because there are large bunk beds that you're ensconced in.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a figure seated tending the fire in front of you.
She'll kind of, rub her eyes and get up a little bit. And she'll say, "Where am I?"
Oh, you're awake. You're in St. Patrick's Cathedral, my dear.
I remember I needed to go see something about math. And I believe there was an equation about. And she's just kind of rubbing her head. The person would probably notice that she seems to be genuinely confused.
Mm-hmm. He'll say, "No, you don't worry about it. It's all right. Would you like something to eat or to drink, maybe? You've been unconscious for the better part of a day."
Where's Mom?
Where's who?
Where's Mom? She'll say.
Your mother? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, that's not good, Dad. I wish she was here.
Oh. He'll walk over and he'll sit on the bed next to you, and you notice that he's wearing a priest's cassock, and he has the priestly collar, and he says, "Are you quite all right, my dear? You did take rather a nasty hit to the head."
I'll be. You know, Dad, that I've been having problems with my head for a while. I'll be fine.
He will very gently lay his hand on your head, and he will say, "The Lord is my shepherd. He shall cleareth all before me. The mist shall not reckon, and I shall see clearly in his sight." Would you mind rolling me 4 dice, please, either Adam or Jake on Discord?
I'll do it.
Discord.
A 1, a 2, a 5, and a 10.
Okay. Yeah. Can you roll again, please? Same pool.
5, a 7, a 6, and 1.
That's more than enough. Basically, you feel warmth radiate from his hand into your head, and he has essentially used a mind effect to. You are no longer confused. He's essentially
Okay.
He saw the problem. He's temporarily stopped it.
Okay.
In the sense you are more with it, so you are more lucid because he saw the fact that this was the problem. If that makes sense.
Got you. So she'll kind of sharpen up a little bit, kind of move her head and go, Oh, that makes a lot. I don't know if that makes more sense, but what was that? She says to the priest.
A small act of kindness, nothing more. Are you hungry? Would you like something to drink?
I'm a little thirsty. Thank you.
Okay. Are you able to stand up?
She'll try to stand up. I assume she's good.
Yep, you're good. You're also, you notice the fact that you're, because you were quite wet when you came in, so they've basically given you a rather plain set of clothes, but they fit well.
Okay, cool.
That you're currently wearing. As he says, would you like to come with me in that case? We'll see if we can't find you something to drink.
She'll nod, and she'll say, "No."
Oh, he was just going to say, my name is Father Ignatius.
Hello, Father. I'm Daniela.
He'll smile and say, come this way, my dear. At which point, both of you will walk out, and they, from your perspective, Jake, you see a tall priest with long, with close kept blonde hair and glasses, with a large golden crucifix hanging from his neck, walk out with Daniela, who is pictured in the display picture.
All right. Upon entering the church, I would have dunked my fingers in the holy water and blessed myself and all that. And then seeing the priest come out with the young lady, I would I guess kind of just walk up to them and clear my throat. Father, madam.
She'll just kind of give a nod to you, very like a subtle one.
Good evening, my son. My apologies, but we are closed at the moment. Is there some way I can help you?
Unfortunately, Father, I come bearing bad tidings. Perhaps we can speak alone for just a second.
I see. He contemplates for a moment as he says, well, who is it you need to speak to, sir? Do you need to speak to me directly? My name is Father Ignatius.
Is that the guy? Yes. I was told to speak to you directly.
This is Jake. I said that's not the guy.
Oh, it's not the guy. Who's the guy?
The Archbishop, whose name I just have to find.
Calaverna. Lucian de Calaverna.
Yeah, Lucian de Cataverna.
Oh, my apologies. Actually, I was meant to speak with the Archbishop de Calaverna.
I see. In that case, are we to assume then that... I see. Very good. He contemplates for a moment. He says, I will go and fetch the Archbishop for you. Would you care to wait here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Father.
That's quite all right, sir. My dear, he will say, looking at... sorry, he will call my child. My child, would you also wait here for a moment whilst I fetch the Archbishop?
She'll nod her head. Sure.
Wonderful. He will then kind of give a polite nod before he heads back into the rectory.
All right, so I would turn towards Daniela and be like, "Oh, forgive me. My name is Liam Saltmoore. Pleased to make your acquaintance," and then stick out a hand.
She'll kind of give a nervous smile and shake your hand and say, I'm Daniela. Good to meet you, Liam.
Likewise.
Quite How was your day so far?
My day was boring, but over the course of the last hour or so, it's gotten a great deal more exciting. It went from looking over shipping ledgers to becoming embroiled in somewhat of a plot.
A plot?
Well, really more the aftermath of a plot. Revealing the effects of someone else's plot to those who have been affected, really.
Well, there always seems to be something going on, right?
Yes, indeed. And today I thought the greatest of my stresses would be a couple of ships thrown off by the storm.
Yeah, it was raining pretty bad yesterday. How's the weather today?
Oh, did you just wake up? Still rather rainy and dreary.
Yeah, you can tell she probably has pretty dark circles under her eyes, and probably if you look, is the bruise on her forehead or is it somewhere else on her head, like on the back, Evan?
It's right above her left eye, so in that kind of hemisphere.
Yeah, so she kind of has a little bit of a bruise over the left eye, um, and she does look pretty tired.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna say anything, but like in his head, it's obviously screaming battered woman. He's like staying at this church and she's all beat up and hasn't slept in days.
She seems otherwise like from what you can tell, she seems pretty calm, but you can tell that there's like a air of uncertainty from her.
All right.
She'll kind of look up probably at the center area where you were dipping your bowl, and she'll just kind of look up at the array of beautiful work and craftsmanship in the cathedral.
Can I use like are my magic sites working and stuff?
Yeah.
All right. Can I just to like seem like a smart dude, just start telling her like the composition of what everything's made out of? Like, oh yes,
Roll.
wonderful marble work, and they have like this, like iron whatever workings behind it, and this and that, and just like trying to
Yeah,
separate all that architecture.
if you want to roll your matter site, you most certainly can do that. Yes.
Yeah, sure. What do I roll? Just my arete?
Just your arete. It's a rank one effect, and it's coincidental. So, what focus are you using to do it?
I guess the hmm. All right, so in the last time I used any kind of site like that, I put on glasses. So I guess he'll like reach into his jacket pocket and remove a pair of like old-fashioned bifocals, I guess, like those ones that have the hook-looking arms on the sides, and he'll just like put them on so that they rest on the bridge of his nose, and he just kind of like squints and looks down through the glasses as he's looking at all the different stuff.
Okay, roll me 3 dice, diff 3.
All right, cool. I got 3 successes.
Your matter site pings on for the scene. So yes, you can say what the things are made of.
Ah, yes, you can see, yeah. Lovely, lovely marble working. And here, this fresco, you can tell by the way the paint has held up over the years that they were using a high quality black ink, not the typical crushed beetle carapaces that were so common in monasteries. I would say that the construction of this cathedral happened. I'll give like a date based on the age of the stone and stuff, and probably took the work of upwards of blah many craftsmen.
Huh. I wonder what they were thinking when they were building this.
Yeah,
And she doesn't say that in a bad way. I wonder if you can see the thoughts behind all those things you were talking about.
Well, I myself cannot. I've never much had a mind for what other people were thinking. I'm more of a, shall we say, a man of the earth, of the physical realm.
Physical realm, eh? You believe there are others?
I'm sorry, what did you say before you said, do you believe there's others?
She just said, I think, she said physical world, eh?
Oh, yeah.
And then, do you believe in any others?
Perhaps not entire different worlds, but definitely different planes of existence, so to speak, where certain forces are more dominant. Here in the material world, as we call it, matter is king. In other places, where certain people with that inclination, project their consciousnesses, spirit may have a great deal more to do uh, with that realm.
From behind you, you hear the kind of how to explain. You hear the kind of movement of cloth on stone as you hear somebody say, as you hear a voice say, "An interesting way of phrasing it, Mr. Saltmoore, if you do not mind my saying so."
I'll just turn around and kind of give like a sheepish smile to the archbishop or whatever he is. Yes, it's quite hard for me to articulate, but I was trying to keep it brief.
One understands. He will extend his hand to you.
Oh, I'll shake it, of course.
He's not offering to shake his hand.
Oh, what is he doing?
Whenever you meet an archbishop, you're supposed to kiss the ring.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would know that as a guy who grew up in Catholic-ass Ireland. So
That's fair.
I will, I will kiss his ring.
He will say, "It is late that you have opted to come to me. I'm also pleased to see that you are awake, my child."
And she'll just kind of give a sheepish thumbs up and a smile.
Yes. Unfortunately, to just be forthright with you, I come at this hour because I have bad news.
I see.
What was
In
Mom's
that case,
first name?
Albrecht.
Right. I come on behalf of a mutual friend of ours, one Gravedigger, to let you know that Albrecht Mons has left this world. That is to say, he's dead.
You see, he blesses himself as he says, "Alimentimo senante, in nato fientes anche." I see. In nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sanctus ante mentes. That is most disturbing news. Albrecht Mons was a colleague of mine for a very long time, Mr. Saltmoore. I assume that. Do you have any more information as it pertains his death?
Yes, I do. But perhaps I look over at like the girl who I assume is a battered woman, and I'll kind of like nod over to a pew across the way that maybe we can go sit over there so I can tell him something quietly.
The girl finds herself in the war that we must all fight for the reality of all mankind. You may speak before her.
Ah, yes, of course. I just didn't wish to divulge.
Danielle, you have no fucking idea what he's
Yeah,
talking
she
about.
just kind of like opens her eyes and goes like, "Huh?"
I just didn't wish to divulge graphic information. It was unnecessary. But if you deem it necessary for her to hear it, then I shall just come out with it. He was killed in a very gruesome manner. Blasphemous as well. He was bound upside down on a crucifix and disemboweled, and also his tongue was removed.
Madre mio sanctimilios. He says, he blesses himself. This is most disconcerting. Albrecht Mons was a very powerful individual. This is most disconcerting. He would have defended himself.
Yes, this was the thinking of Gravedigger as well. It sounds to me like an inside job.
The Order of Hermes is cutthroat. However, I do not think that even they would kill their senior lectern, their magister, as it was.
Not necessarily the Order of Hermes, but perhaps someone who is close to Mr. Mons. It seems like you and Gravedigger so astutely brought up that there was not even the smallest sign of a struggle. So it seems to me that either he was unconscious or taken by surprise by someone he trusted. If assailants showed up at your home with a crucifix, surely you would fight them. But
Oh, sorry. I will point out just one slight slip of the tongue there, Jake. He was not crucified on a crucifix. He was nailed to a wall.
oh, okay. Never mind then. Well, I will retract
Crucified.
that.
He was nailed in the crucifati style to a wall, if that makes sense. You know, arms outsplayed and the
Yeah,
feet.
Okay. Yeah, they crucified him to a wall.
That's right. Cool. He will say, the ritualistic symbolism of this murder is not to be underestimated. It is disturbing at best.
Hermes? As in, there are people that follow Hermes.
Not exactly. Antosiri adriantes.
So
As in...
she'll say because she actually has a esoterica hermeticism. She'll say like of what's his name, Hermes Trismegistus, that sort of stuff, alchemy.
In a manner of speaking, the assertions of the golden path, the path to the self, the path to the ultimate truth of self, in a manner of speaking. Or at least that is the philosophy espoused by the scions of Hermes Trismegistus. I can't say it in that accent.
I don't blame you. Huh.
My apologies, Mr. Saltmoore. Miss Daniela. Sorry, what is Daniela's second name?
Griffith.
Miss Griffith here is newly brought into our community. She was chased to my door by the Technocratic Union this afternoon, who were intent upon either killing her or taking her captive.
I think they wanted to take me captive.
Yeah, yes,
I could
rather
hear the
understandable,
radio.
folks.
What was that, sorry?
Oh, I was just commenting that they are less than understanding, those blokes at the Technocratic Union.
Yes. However, I must make preparations. I will go immediately to the Hermetic Chantry. It is located inside the grounds of Trinity College. I will go there myself now, and I will more than likely need to allay a great number of fears before the morning comes and reinforce what defenses there are there. If Albrecht's death is related in any way to certain other movements, can do me a favor, actually, Adam. Can you roll me 7 dice, please?
Yes, sir. Oops. Ignore that one. An 8, a 1, a 4, a 9, a 3, a 9, and a 2.
Okay. He looks at Big Fish and he quirks an eyebrow and he says, "There's something you're not telling me."
Oh, what am I not telling him?
You didn't say anything about Gravedigger having weird suspicions as it pertains to shipping companies and other such.
Oh, right. There was one further bit of information that did slip my mind. I was about to investigate it myself. Does the company name, it's some of the D, what is it?
Dancern Incorporated.
Yes, that. Mean anything to you? Gravedigger seems to believe that they are in some way involved.
Dancern. I cannot say that the name inherently rings a bell. Why is it that Mr. Gravedigger thinks that they are involved?
Their ship, the Queen of the Nile, is docked in the port currently. And why? I forget why he thought that they were involved. I don't remember.
Because before he died, Mons asked him about where the ship was and when the ship was due into port.
Right. Okay, yeah. So, Albrecht Mons was making inquiries as to that specific ship and their company and when they would be coming into port. He seemed rather agitated about it. I called just before I came here down to my man at the port. And he informed me that the boat there was docked already.
I see. How very interesting. Well, I would be most appreciative, Mr. Saltmoore, if you may give us any information you find in your. He contemplates his next words. Misadventure.
Yes, of course. I was about to offer the same myself.
He will look at Daniela and he'll quirk his head to the side and he says, I sense that you have many questions.
She just simply nods her head up and down. I guess I'll get them answered in time. Seem busy.
My apologies. Mr. Mons, as I said, has been my friend for nearly a century. I tend to value my friendships.
Her eyebrows visibly raise when he says a century. A century?
Yes.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Things are moving very quickly, Mr. Saltmoore. So I recommend that you do the same. You may. He will hand you a business card, and he will say, "This is the number for my office. It will always be answered. Please make sure that you inform me should you find anything of great interest."
Of course. I'll give him my business card also.
Good. In that case, I will bid you good evening, Mr. Saltmoore.
Good evening, Archbishop. And Miss something with an H. Miss Danielle.
Griffith.
Oh, Griffith.
Well, it's farewell to the both of you. Good luck. Archbishop, do you know where I forget his name, the man that was sent to talk to you earlier.
Father Ambrosius.
Yes, do you know where we last saw him? I'd like to go speak with him.
He's currently upstairs tending to a few minor issues for me. If you wish, I'm more than happy to speak to you, though.
I won't take up any more of your time. You need to go see about what happened to your friend.
He will say, yes, indeed. And it is my intention, Miss Daniela, that you are going to come with me.
She'll wind her eyes and just say, she'll take in a breath and say, okay, why not?
And as this is Jake's intro scene, we're going to continue on with him. You may feature in another character's intro scene yet again as they magically materialize in a fucking chantry.
That's fine.
That's next step. Apparently Daniela is just the whore for everyone else's intro.
Pretty much.
Okay, so Jake, you leave out into the night. The sun is just starting to make its ascent over the sea, over the line of the sea as you leave. You take a deep breath. The weather's still bad. Of course it is. You've got no idea where the storm came from. Frankly, it came out of nowhere, and it's been nothing but damned bothersome for the last few days. So, what is your next move, Big Fish?
Big Fish is going to. I'm going to head down to the docks, I guess.
Okay, cool. You proceed down to the docklands. Once again, you are greeted by the stink of fish. Not big fish, mind you. Just fish.
No, yes. Big Fish. Much different.
Mm-hmm. And you head down to the dockland, to the wharf number you were given, which is number 42B.
Yep.
You will arrive there shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning, and you'll notice the fact that there is a large yet very underdeveloped and very, very unmaintained warehouse there that has its door closed to the outside world.
All right. I will head up to the. Is this considered a new scene now, or what?
No.
Okay, cool. So I mean, I'll put on my glasses and use some sight on this building, see if I can see through it with matter.
What level of matter do you have?
I have matter sight 3, or I have matter 3. I also have
It will be,
correspondence 3, entropy 3, and time 2. If that makes any difference.
oh yeah, with correspondence, you can literally throw your senses into the building, so you're seeing into the building but not moving into the building.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I want to do. I'm standing outside.
Alright.
Also, just because I thought of it before, I think it would be kind of cool if I used like a little bit of matter to make my clothing waterproof. Can I try to roll for that?
Yeah, you can roll for that.
All right. What's the diff?
If you use a foci, what foci would you like to use?
I don't really have one for this. I don't think.
Okay, because you should really come up with a list of your foci, things that you use to do magic.
I'm just trying to think of what I would use for matter, because like I use a pocket watch for time, I use a glasses for any kind of sight. So I'm trying to think of what I would use to like change what I'm wearing. I guess maybe here's what he would do. He would take out a little compact mirror that he has a sigil drawn into the bottom of like the compact mirror, flicks it open, and then looking at himself in the mirror, he starts like brushing the water droplets off of his coat. And as he does that, he focuses on like with each brush making what he's touched like kind of make water just run right off. How's that for focus?
That's fine. That'll even, because it's a customized thing, like it's a very specific mirror, that will count as a custom focus, which means it will reduce the difficulty by another 1, which means you're rolling 3 dice to 4.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna keep writing. I'll keep these all written down. I got 2 successes.
Do you want to continue the casting? Because you're going to need 3 to do it for the scene.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so keep doing it. Three successes.
Okay. For the rest of the scene, your clothing will be waterproof.
Nice. All right, cool. So standing out in the rain, only his hair and face and hands and stuff getting wet, and he just stares off, basically with his glasses, peering into the seemingly at this basically the side of this closed building, maybe like trying to look in a window or something, but not really. He's keeping his distance, so he's basically just trying to look through this building.
All right, roll me your Erte again. Roll me 3 dice, diff 4.
Okay. Two successes.
Yeah, that's more than enough for what you want to do. Okay. Basically, you transpose your senses, so it's like you are now standing where you were, but instead of standing where you were, you're standing 30 feet ahead of you as basically your disembodied senses, if you get me.
Yes. All right, so I'll just kind of like look in a 360 degree really quick. I'll just like, spin around and look.
Awesome. Can I get you to make me a perception investigation check?
Yes. Let me just figure out how many dice I have for that. All right. I've got a specialty in perception and discerning, and I only have 1 investigation. So that's 4 or 5 dice.
Willpower, your friend.
All right. I'll spend a willpower. What's the diff?
Standard.
Okay. All right. So I got 2 successes because I spent the willpower.
Okay. 2 successes is more than enough. For a start, you see on the floor, it looks as if there was a large crate that has been dragged along the dusty, unused floor. And there are great any footprints around where around where it's been dragged, because you can see a box has been dragged along the length and breadth of the room practically.
Mm-hmm.
However, more interestingly than that, there is a huge amount of blood.
Oh.
As in, there is a massive quantity of blood and brain matter on the ground. However, there is no body, and you see two spent bullet casings on the ground as well.
Can I, using matter and correspondence, try to connect the bullet casing with the gun that fired it? Like, or at least in what direction they are and roughly how far away?
As in, you want to basically determine the trajectory of the bullet?
No, I want to, since there's bullet casings on the ground, I want to see if I can, because I have correspondence 3 and I have entropy and I have matter. So I'm hoping that with some sort of combination of those 3, I can kind of like, and I also have time, So I'm wondering if maybe I can kind of like put it together where like what gun fired those bullets and and then I guess maybe in a separate roll, how far and in what direction that gun is.
With time 2, you could literally just, using your perception, you could literally just reverse time and see what happened.
Oh, yeah, right on. Okay, I thought that was like higher up in time. If I can do that with time 2, that's what I'm going to do.
You're doing it with your perceptions. You're not physically going back in time, which is the difference.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's time 3, but you're just looking backwards, which is time 2.
Cool. All right, yeah, so I'll do that. I'll try to see like what the fuck happened here.
All right. That is a time 2 effect. So you will be needing to and you'll take out your pocket watch, which is your focus.
Yes.
So roll me 3 dice diff 4, and you're going to need 5 successes, and you can continue the roll for as many dots of stamina as you have.
Okay, I have 3.
Okay. You will need 5 successes in 3 rolls.
Can I spend another willpower?
Yeah, you can spend willpower on every one of these rolls if you really want to.
I'm just going to spend it on this one and see how it goes.
Cool. Don't, for the love of God, botch.
All right, so that's 3 for the first one.
Okay, next.
And here's the next one. All right, that's 1. I need 1 more. I got 2 more rolls to do it.
You have 1 more roll to do it there.
Oh, I thought it was I could do 1 and then continue doing it for however many rounds I had stamina.
No, you can do as many rounds as you have stamina.
Okay. All right, well, there's another success.
Awesome. Okay, you focus on your pocket watch as you roll back the time. Everything in your perception snaps backwards about an hour ago. You see a man dressed in the telltale clothing of a member of the Gardaí or the Irish Police Service enter into the building rather cautiously. He looks around. He examines the floor where it was you saw the footprints and the scuff marks. Then you see a flash from the corner of the room from a concealed individual hiding underneath a tarpaulin. And then there's a flash, and blood erupts from the guy's chest as a bullet punches straight through him. He falls. He draws his own gun. However, you can tell that he's losing feeling in his hands as he drops the gun a few moments later before falling to his knees. The man from underneath the tarpaulin, who is wearing entirely black with a porcelain white mask with a single teardrop located under its left eye, walks forward and says to him, "It's nothing or it's only business." Before the man smiles and responds, I understand that. And then the masked individual blows the policeman's brains out. Literally, just very calmly.
Oh my god. Can we see what happens to his body?
Yeah, the body is just left laying there. However, a couple of hours later, in a really gestalt, fucked up display, you see a brilliant light blaze out of the man's chest, at which point the body literally knits itself and puts itself back together again, and he stands up and leaves.
Whoa! I'll like snap back to outside in the rain,
Mhm.
and I'll just kind of like I'll be standing there holding my pocket watch, and you wouldn't be able to tell, I guess, because of the rain, but he would be just like sweating profusely. He'd be all like pale faced, and his lips would be like almost like hypothermic blue, and his pupils are really tiny and everything, because he just basically snapped back into his body. And he takes a couple of deep breaths. His chest like heaves up and down, and he kind of like puts his hand on his chest and like rubs over where his heart is. Um, and then he immediately reaches into his breast pocket. He takes out his phone, which has a stylus in it, and he starts like he immediately goes into like his drawing app, and he sketches just not even like a good one, just a quick sketch of the porcelain mask with the teardrop, just so I remember generally what it looked like, so I can describe it to people later.
Okay, you do this.
Um, and then I'm going to go up to the building and see if the door is unlocked.
The door is unlocked, in fact.
Oh, all right. In that case, I'm gonna. Can I open it with like a handkerchief when I check to see if it's unlocked?
Yeah, you can.
All right. So he does that, and then he goes inside. Um, and I'll just kind of like look around inside. I see, I guess, the rest of the shit that I already saw.
Yeah, there's literally other than the blood, the brain matter, and the whatchamacallit, other than the blood, the brain matter, and the spent shell casings, there's literally nothing of value in the room.
All right. I'm gonna go with. I'll take my pen, or I'll take my phone stylus, I guess. Um, and I will pick up one of the shell casings, and then tearing a piece of paper out of my notepad, I will fold a little envelope basically around it as like a makeshift evidence bag, and I'll tuck that into like my inside coat pocket, and then I'm gonna go over by where I saw the guy, the shadowy figure crouched where he shot the policeman first. Like I want to go where he initially was hiding when he shot the guy, and kind of look around there for clues if there's anything to find.
He was hiding behind a set of crates.
Uh-huh.
There was literally nothing of interest in the crates. There's some rope and some spoiled tinned food, and that's about it.
Okay, but there's no like, like, oh, it's a size 15 footprint or like whatever.
No, there are footprints, but they're relatively small.
Um, can I make some kind of perception to see if I can notice like what kind of shoes they are?
Um,
You know how like if like a Nike shoe might have Nike written on the bottom, and then you might be able to like it might have something else written down.
Perception alertness roll difficulty 8.
Okay, cool. Hold on one sec. All right, I have mad dice for this. And does my perception specialty in discerning count?
Yes, it does.
Cool. Six successes.
Holy crap.
Yeah, dude.
Those are Magnum boots. They are very, very tough, all-weather wearing boots that are primarily used by they're used by like outdoor survivalists, and they're also very commonly used by the army.
Okay, and they're like a men's boot.
Interestingly enough, no, they're not. They're too small, and they're too small, and they're not wide enough. They would probably be a woman's boot.
Can I determine with that many successes what shoe size they are?
They're probably about a 7, 6 or 7.
All right, cool. I'll write that down also in my notes underneath the mask that I drew.
I will point out that when you heard them say it's just business, the voice was heavily distorted, like it was speaking through a something to purposefully mask what it sounded like.
Right. Okay, so I mean it's obviously screaming female assailant. So I'll write like what was the brand of boot?
Magnum.
Yeah, so he writes down Magnum boot female size 7.
Mm-hmm.
Um Also, I pick up the other shell case with my pen, um, and I examine the back. It'll at least tell me what caliber bullet it is. It's just written on the back of the bullet.
Oh yeah. Evan is not very good with guns and the sizing of calibers. It's just your kind of standard handgun.
Yeah, okay. That's basically what I was asking, if it was like a handgun or what.
Though the bullet does not appear to be very, very scorched, which maybe says that it was put through a silencer or something.
Okay,
Something muffled it. Yeah.
right on. Okay, so I'll note that down also.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't want to go anywhere near the blood, but the drag marks for where the crate probably went. Do they like end at a wall or something, or what?
No, they end at the door you came in.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we know how that left. Can I use time sight to stare at the place that looks like where the crate was before it got dragged?
You basically want to see them move the crate?
I want to see, yeah, I want to see who moved the crate, and I want to see if at any point the crate was opened.
Okay, make me a roll.
All right. Difficulty what?
Difficulty, the same difficulty as last time, difficulty 4.
Okay. Three successes.
Take 2 unsoakable ag damage.
Yeah. Okay. How does it
You
manifest?
it feels like something is basically. It feels like as you look back, it feels like you've mentally hit something that sparks off an immense pain in your mind.
All right, cool. So, like, let's just for cinematic effect, can we say my like nose starts bleeding?
Nose and mouth.
Yeah, nose, mouth, and ears, all that shit.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'll kind of like I'll like take a knee, like I've just been like struck across the back with like a baseball bat or something, just like kind of like fall to one knee, in like Tim Tebow stance, and then I'll take my handkerchief and kind of like wipe it along the corners of my mouth as like my vision tries to refocus and the ringing in my ears starts to subside. And I'll like get up and stumble backwards, and in my stupid like stunned I guess like stupefied state, he'll kind of like put his hand like in a full grip on like the edge of the door to like straighten himself, and he'll turn around and like kind of pull himself through the rain back to his car, and he'll call Gravedigger.
The phone will ring once, will ring twice, will ring a third time before the voice at the end will say, "Yes, Saltmoore, I assume you have a report for me."
Yes, Mr. Gravedigger. Strange dealings down at the wharf.
Oh, what are these?
It might be best that I come and speak to you in person.
Right, very good then. I'll be at the club. Come back anytime you're ready.
Yeah, so I go there as fast as I can.
Cool.
And when I get back to the club, whatever, go inside, talk to Rufus, blah, blah, blah. I'll probably still have a little bit of, like, dried blood in one of my ears that I forgot to, like, clear out.
Gravedigger is still seated on the bar when you enter again.
All right. I'll come in, and I will just kind of, like, I like, give him the respectful nod or whatever, but it seems rushed. And I'll just kind of, like, sidle behind the bar myself and pour myself, like, a double thing of whiskey.
That's fine. He'll say, "I take it you've had a little bit of an adventure in that case, Mr. Saltmoore."
He takes this double whiskey glass and just throws it back like it's a shot. And then like kind of coughs and like exhales. Well, Mr. Gravedigger, sir. First of all, we're definitely dealing with will workers.
Hmm.
But I suppose you knew that already. I went down to where the Queen of the Nile was supposed to be docked, and I found their shipping warehouse. Inside the shipping warehouse, there was a large quantity of blood and some spent shell casings. I'll like take out the folded up paper with the shell casing inside and put it down in front of him on the bar, and then continue talking like without missing a beat. And I focused my mind back in time when I viewed the events that had recently transpired. I saw a figure. I saw a police officer investigating the warehouse. There was a crate. Sorry.
Gravedigger will raise his hand and he will say, "Did he look like this?" And Gravedigger will describe the person who you saw get brutally murdered.
Yes, that's exactly what he looked like. And then
He
he
was
looked like
the
a corpse, and then he looked fine again.
fine again.
Yes, he was shot point blank. His brains blown hither and yon across this warehouse floor. And after a time, his body began to glow and stitched itself, for lack of a better term, back together. And he got up and dusted himself off and strolled out, happy as the day he was born.
Gravedigger quirks an eyebrow and he says, "That sounds like an awakening to me." Interesting.
Well, I don't really know about that. All I know is from my awakening, I had my math teacher devoured by pterodactyls.
They deserved it if it helps.
You're right. He definitely did.
Continue with your story.
So anyway, yes, right. He's investigating the warehouse. I determined that there had been a large crate there that had been moved some time ago. More on that later. As he was investigating the warehouse, a dark figure in a mask looking like this, and they show him the thing on my phone, shot him, and then approached. It was a small figure with a distorted voice, and it said, "Nothing but business. This is nothing but business." And the man who you described said that he understood. She blew his brains out, and then he came back to life shortly thereafter. I say she because I found I found boot prints from a pair of military-issued women's boots, size 7, and I tell them the brand.
I see. That is interesting.
There was one more thing that was even more interesting, and it's why I've just been drinking this whiskey like a common lout. I tried to focus my attention on the spot that I assumed the crate would have been before being removed. And as I tried to view that particular piece of history, something struck my mind, and I hemorrhaged from my nose and eyes, or my nose and ears and mouth. It was as if I was hit directly in my mind with a sledgehammer.
That sounds as if someone has warded a specific point in time that they don't want other people to examine.
Yes, and I've heard of such things before. I'm rather well versed in correspondence and time magic, but I've only ever seen wards that keep things out, like bullets and energies. I've never seen anything that could stop viewing or directly attack I don't even know what happened. It's psychic blasted me.
You're not adept in the mind sphere, my dear Saltmeyer. It makes sense. Oftentimes, individuals can place protections on thoughts or visions or the ability to see. It depends on what it is they wish to protect, but this means that we are indeed dealing with at least a somewhat powerful individual. As I've said, an individual who could not only thwart my own means of investigation, but who could kill my dear Albrecht so close to my own establishment in my section of the city. I'm not exactly happy about that. However, there are many questions. You informed the Archbishop as to Mr. Mons's death, then, yes?
Yes. He is looking into it
Well,
and wants us to keep him in the loop.
we can do this. What was his general reaction to Mons's death?
Pretty much what you'd expect from a priest. He blessed himself and said some words, some prayers in Latin, and really made a show of how religiously disgusted he was by the whole thing.
The Archbishop is very, very old. He was an old friend of Mons's. It will make sense.
Yes,
However, he's
been
also
friends for over a century.
yes, it was the two of them who, well, to give you a history lesson, the two of them basically carved Dublin into the domain it is now in terms of the Celestial Chorus and the Verbena's long-standing agreement that has held for the better part of 100 years. So, we need to contemplate. We need to think. What is our next move, Mr. Saltmeyer?
Well, if it's up to me to head up the investigation, I believe the best next step would be to find that newly awakened mage who is an eyewitness and who is clearly looking for what I'm not allowed to see.
That seems like an excellent idea. His name is O'Cullen, for the record. Sergeant O'Cullen.
All right, I'll jot that down in my notes as well.
I leave this in your hands, Mr. Saltmeyer. I will be here as a resource should you require it, but I think this makes a rather suitable test of your abilities.
Absolutely, sir. I wouldn't bother you for anything less than magic that is beyond my comprehension.
He'll nod very slightly as he says, though for the time being, return home, sleep. You've had quite a mental ordeal.
Yes, I could definitely do with a bit of a nap, and perhaps some more whiskey.
He'll say, if you wish to stay here, you can sleep downstairs. Take the bottle with you.
Well, you know what? That's probably best. I don't know if I should be driving anyway, he says as he pours himself another, big glass of whiskey.
As you make your way downstairs, you suddenly become aware that all of the seats, you see glowing red eyes in all of the seats that you didn't see before, as you see Gravedigger stand in the middle of the room, and he kind of starts to whisper in a language that you don't understand, at which point he extends his hand. All the eyes kind of blink as one before you feel a great shift, a great kind of movement, and as you see the eyes fly up the stairs that you just left from out into the night sky. And from there, we shall end the scene, if you don't mind pressing the button.